Please support the bar by subscribe, and sharing my cast. Follow my social media at Facebook, Instagram, Gab, Parler, BitChute, YouTube, DLive, Twitch, CloutHub, and Rumble, or join my Subscribe Star. Make a donation by clicking on the links on the description box. I am a listener-supported show, so any of the above is greatly appreciated. Help me grow and spread the truth, since the mainstream media obviously does not want to support truth. All links are listed on the description box. God bless you and enjoy.
Welcome to the Speak Uneasy, a safe space where cancel culture does not exist, because we are in a different prohibition era.
Good evening and welcome to another episode of the Speak Uneasy with your host, the bartender. Tonight's random read is going to come off of the book of Amos, chapter 7, verses 14 through 17, Amos's reply to Amaziah. Then answered Amos and said to Amaziah, I was no prophet, neither was I a prophet's son, but I was an herdman and a gatherer of sycamore fruit. And the Lord took me as I followed the flock, and the Lord said unto me, Go, prophesy unto the people, unto my people Israel. Now therefore hear thou the word of the Lord. Thou sayest, Prophesy not against Israel, and drop not thy word against the house of Isaac. Therefore thus saith the Lord, Thy wife shall be an harlot in the city, and thy sons and thy daughters shall fall by the sword, and thy land shall be divided by line, and thou shalt die in a polluted land, and Israel shall surely go into captivity forth of his land. Once again, this random read comes from the book of Amos, chapter 7, verses 14 through 17, Amos's reply to Amaziah. Now, for my take of the random read. So this is going to take a minute, and I want to explain something here. So my journey into eventually getting into podcasting, this particular read resonates with me because this pretty much tells me, which is explaining to you, which is what I'm about to explain to you on how my journey came to be. And I know I'm sounding repetitive right now. Excuse me, I had a drink earlier. So I was going through a tough time last year. I got into a situation at work, and on top of that, with the whole Charlie Victor thing, civil unrest going on, lockdowns, just a whole bunch of stuff going on last year. And in the midst of all these things going on, I was lost, and I was deep into prayer every day. And I was confused. I didn't know what to do. The situation I got into with my job, I was put on leave for quite some time. So as I was put on leave, and in this time of confusion, the only thing I could resort to was prayer, because I needed to find out what direction, what was going to be my next step. I wasn't sure if I wasn't sure where my job was going to put me at, as far as, what was going to be the next thing for me. Was I going to get fired? I mean, what was going to happen? The unknown. I was in the unknown. So I resorted to the only thing I knew was to pray to God. And, for days on end, praying. Finally, one day, and I hear his voice. And he says to me, spread the word. And I was thinking to myself, spread the word? Kind of like this read here, right? Kind of like this read where Amos, I guess, was Amos was told to pretty much do the same thing, right? I didn't know how to go about this. I didn't know how to go about spreading the word, spreading truth. I had no clue. Although I started having a relationship with God, I didn't know how to go about spreading the word. And I'm not one of those type of guys to stand by a corner with a sign saying you repent now or you go to hell. No, I mean, you're not gonna get a message across to people that way. One thing I know for sure is that if people want to listen to you, that's your way in to getting them into converting them into people that will follow God or to find the truth. People who are willing to listen. And it's not for everybody, because a lot of people are not open-minded. Or a lot of people choose to be ignorant. So, I was thinking to myself, how am I going to do this? And it just occurred to me one day, you know what? I'll podcast. I'll podcast because it gives people the choice to listen to me or not. And I'm not forcing my beliefs into somebody. I'm giving them my perspective and what I think. They may agree with me, they may not agree with me. Either way, I don't care. But the important thing is for me to at least try to spread the word. Try to spread the truth. And that's what I'm doing. So that's how this read kind of resonates with me. And I'm hoping that I at least I know for a fact that I've already reached one person out there. I know I have. Because, he's a friend of mine. Actually, if I think about it, I think I've reached two people to at least have a better relationship with God. So I know it's hitting somebody somewhere out there. I may not be the best person in explaining things because I'm not a college educated person. I don't have extensive vocabulary. I'm not a snob. Or I don't consider myself highly intelligent either. I'm just a common sense thinker. That's all. So that's my take on the random read. And I really hope that story makes sense. If not, I don't know how else to simplify it, because that's as simple as it gets. Sorry for not having a college degree or a college education. Anyways, let's move on to the next thing of the next topic of today's show. Or, not the topic, the next section. Let's move on to the next section, okay? And I know some of you this might be your favorite part of the show. It's the making of the cocktail. So today we're going to go ahead and make a Rob Roy. A Rob Roy. I am not a fan of sweet vermouth, but to keep this a variety of cocktails, I've chosen to make a Rob Roy today. So before we make the Rob Roy, I found an article here from vinepair.com. It was written by Aaron Goldfarb, and the article was published back in October 9th of 2020. Article reads, The History of the Rob Roy Cocktail. This article is part of a cocktail history series sponsored by Johnny Walker. That's not the scotch that we're going to be using tonight, but I'm reading it because that's what the article has in it. And I'm giving them full credit, so. Discover more about classic Scotch cocktails here. If a cocktail is named after someone, that someone probably had very little to do with the actual cocktail's creation. Such is the case with Robert Roy MacGregor, a 17th century outlaw? Wow. Often cited as a sort of Scottish Robin Hood for leading battles against noblemen in the Highlands. After his death, he became such a folk hero, in fact, that an operetta, also called Rob Roy, was written about him, debuting on Broadway in 1894. Like many shows of the era, it would need an accompanying drink. Just around the block from Herald Square Theater of Fifth Avenue, where the Empire State Building stands today, was the newly built Waldorf Astoria. The ritzy hotel had already laid claim to quite a few popular cocktails of the time, and indeed, today most drinks annals typically give it credit for the Rob Roy as well. At the time, there are many other cocktail writers who will point to other luxury lodging, the Fifth Avenue Hotel down by Madison Square, as the birthplace of the Rob Roy. And neither of those was truly the first Rob Roy cocktail. One with brandy, Angostura bitters, and orgeat had been fashioned by legendary New York barman E.F. Barry in the early 1870s. Yeah, he was a very famous bartender. It's very possible that those Midtown bartenders may have borrowed the recipe from the opposite shores of the Hudson River. In recent years, drinks historian David Wanderich has found evidence that one Henry A. Orfall stirred up an impromptu Rob Roy while working at Duke's house in Hoboken, New Jersey, just across the street from the Manhattan Ferry around 1895. A blended Scotch whiskey salesman came in wanting a Manhattan, but according to his own company's policy, it was unethical for him to drink anything not containing his own whiskey. Orfall's solution was to swap in 2 ounces of Scotch alongside with sweet vermouth and Angostura bitters. The drink is good, a name is suggested, and done, writes Wanderich. The drink was good, yes, essentially a Manhattan for a Scotch lover. It's never become as ubiquitous as that American whiskey-based cocktail, but many drinkers prefer it. That's because blended Scotch makes the drink less sweet and a bit leaner as well. Geez, I can't read today. It must have been the drink that I had earlier. It also brings an interesting depth, adding a touch of smoke to balance out the sugary vermouth. Whoever created it and whatever it was created, the Rob Roy quickly became a sensation in America, ordered by name across the entire country. It probably didn't hurt that Rob Roy himself was a well-known figure in New York at the time, nor that his name rolled off the tongue when ordering it. By November of 1895, the San Francisco Call was already reporting that a new cocktail called the Rob Roy is a Manhattan made with Scotch instead of rye whiskey. It is excellent. Its recipe would soon start appearing in cocktail books like James C. Maloney's 20th Century Guide and John Applegreen's 1899 Barkeeper's Guide. This 3-ingredient cocktail remains popular today. Easy to make at home, especially as blended Scotch is common on bar carts. Even if in those same homes, most everyone has forgotten the man behind the drink, Rob Roy. Once again, that article was by vinepair.com, written by Aaron Goldfarb. And now we're going to make the Rob Roy. All right, so we're going to take 2 ounces of Scotch. What I have here for my blended Scotch tonight, we have the famous Grouse Smoky Black. So we're going to go ahead and do 2 ounces of this into the... I don't have a mixing glass just yet, so we're going to go ahead and use my shaker. The first ounce is in. Second ounce is in. Now it's calling for 3/4 of sweet vermouth. And for tonight's sweet vermouth, I'm using my usual sweet vermouth, which is Rivata. Man, I'm not a big fan of sweet vermouth. Nothing sweet about this thing, in my opinion. So we're going 3/4 of sweet vermouth. All right, 3/4 of sweet vermouth in there. And for the bitters, I have Fee Brothers 1864 West Indian Orange Bitters. We're going to put, it says to put 2 dashes. I'm going to put 3 because I really need to cover up that sweet vermouth taste. So here we go. I just touched it with 3 dashes of orange bitters. All right. So now we're going to go ahead and put some ice in here. And now we're going to stir to dilution. In the meantime, while I'm stirring, I have a, I don't have a Nicanora glass. I'm going to have to buy one eventually. So for now, I'm using a martini glass, and I have it chilling right now. So as soon as this is ready to go in the glass, I'm going to dump the ice and water out of the martini glass. Give it a little taste. Okay. Okay, so now we're going to dump the ice and water out of the martini glass. I'm making a mess over here. Jeez. I wish I can do this in my bar. It'd be much better. I wish I can do it on video. Someday. Okay. So now I got my strainer. The glass is empty now and it's chilled. Now for the pour. Now for the garnishes, I'm going to be using maraschino cherry. So I'm going to be using about 2 maraschino cherries. I'll plop it right there. All right. And now for the moment of truth. Here's to the Rob Roy. Here's a little taste. Slanjava. Let's give it a little taste again. All right, so yeah, the sweet vermouth. It's strong. I'm not a sweet vermouth fan. After the taste of the sweet vermouth, then you get the scotch. And it's a blended scotch, a smoky blended scotch. Honestly, for my palate, this is not even that smoky, because when it comes to smoky scotches, Lafroig. Lafroig by far is, for me, in my opinion, the most smokiest, the smoky of all smoky. This is not that bad. So it doesn't taste that bad, but it wouldn't be on my order list. But if you like the sweet vermouth with a combination of a so-called smoky scotch, smoky blended scotch, then this isn't bad. It's just not one of my go-tos. So, here's to the Rob Roy. Slanjava. And now, on to the show. So today I have a couple articles that I will be talking about. The first article comes from The Federalist, and it was published on April 29th of this year by Jordan Davidson. Article reads, Idaho cop suspended for viral TikTok mocking LeBron James police threat. An Idaho cop was suspended this week after a video of him poking fun at NBA star LeBron James went viral on TikTok. Last week, after an officer killed a teenage girl wielding a knife to save the life of another black girl, James threatened the cop in a Twitter post that said, in quotes, "You're next, #accountability." It was after James quickly removed the tweet and then refused to apologize that Deputy Nate Silvester made a video mocking the Los Angeles Lakers, playing and pretending to ask him for advice on policing. "Excuse me, could you please put down the knife, sir?" Silvester yelled before asking a fictional James, "You don't care if a black person kills another black person, but you do care if a white cop kills a black person, even if he's doing it to save the life of another black person?" I saw the video. Just so you guys know, I saw the video. It was funny. I mean, it does make a whole lot of sense, but then again, you're a really good basketball player. You're really good at basketball, so I guess I'll take your word for it, Silvester continued. The TikTok, which garnered more than 700,000 likes by Thursday afternoon, prompted a public condemnation from the Bellevue Marshal's Office, which said it heard about the extreme controversy from people in the community who took the time to reach out to us. The statements made do not represent the Bellevue Marshal's Office. The Bellevue Marshal's Office always demands that our deputies engage with our citizens in a friendly and professional manner. This is not how we expect our deputies to act on duty or use city time. This is a personal issue that is being dealt with internally, the department said in a statement posted to Facebook. While Silvester is still technically employed by the Marshal's Office, please don't tell me they're going to fire him. This would be so stupid. His best friend started a GoFundMe, which raised more than $92,000 in the first day to rally support for the officer while he is suspended. A portion of the donations will be given to a charity for families of fallen officers and first responders. The fundraising website states, Jordan Davidson is a staff writer at the Federalist. She graduated from Baylor University, where she majored in political science and minored in journalism. Once again, that article came off of the Federalist, published on April 29th of this year by Jordan Davidson. Now, my opinion in all this. Okay, so... Okay, there are a few issues. I don't think he did, he didn't, okay, first off, face value, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't, okay? The only thing that he did, technically speaking, was probably violate a few department policies. At worst, that's at worst, that's what he did. And if he did violate some department policies, he did not commit a crime. He didn't commit a crime. He didn't break the law. He didn't even commit a misdemeanor. So he mocked a basketball player. So what? And they probably put this man on suspension or admin leave because their so-called sheriff or police chief or whatever you want to call it. I'm assuming it's a sheriff because he's a deputy, right? So the sheriff just put his tail in between him or her, put their tail in between their legs and caved in to people who probably don't live in the community. And I can almost guarantee, not that I have any facts on this, but this is how it usually works. You get a bunch of activists, and let's be real about this. It's probably going to be Bravo Lima Mike, right? It's probably going to be them who pressured the leadership of that department. And they probably don't even live in that community. It's easy to make phone calls when you're a few states away, right? You may have a small group of people that do live there who support Bravo Lima Mike. But I can see already that this was all political. As far as deciding what would happen to Deputy Silvester here. It's unfortunate that we've come to this. It's so unfortunate that it's come to this. Okay, so should he get punished for what he did? Sure, he should get punished for violating department policy. Yeah, absolutely, because he violated. He probably violated department policy. I'm pretty sure he did. But to the degree of firing the guy is wrong. He did not even commit a crime. He was not even close to committing a crime. You know who committed the crime here? LeBron James did, because he threatened that deputy. And by the way, who the hell is LeBron James to say anything? Has he ever been in any capacity of doing any kind of police work? Has any of these people ever been in the shoes, or even at least, let alone have done a ride along with a cop? No. Nowhere near. It's easy to Monday night quarterback somebody's play. Try being in their shoes and try making the decisions on a split second. Now, I've seen the video of that situation where the shooting happened in Ohio. I saw it. And I think the cop did a remarkable job. It was amazing that his accuracy was on point. Because when you're in high stress, your motor functions go out of whack. It just does. Because your initial reaction for somebody who's not trained would be to kind of freak out. The first thing that happens is a fight or flight, right? You're going to decide whether you're going to fight that, or you're going to decide whether you're going to cower down to that. That's why it's called fight or flight. But you can tell that was nothing but training. Training just set in instantly. And there's something that has to be said about training. It comes to you without even having to think about anything. And what he did, how he was able to accomplish stopping the threat, remarkable. So, honestly, this article, it's a good article. It's not taking a side on any of it, any angle. It's not taking a side on any angle. So it's a fair article. And this is the way things should be reported, without any bias or without taking a side. Great article, Jordan Davidson. Good for you. But here's where I have a problem. And I'm not speaking about the article. I'm speaking about the content of this story, right? Who is this NBA player to decide how cops should do their job? Obviously, you're not a cop. You play basketball, right? What's the hardest thing you have to do? What's the hardest thing you have to do as a basketball player? Train? Work out? That's the hardest thing you have to do, right? Because there's no backlash for you making threats to that cop who shot and stopped the threat to save that other black girl's life. I guarantee if that girl stabbed that other girl, that wouldn't even be in the news. Would Bravo Lima Mike even matter at that point? No, because if Bravo Lima Mike actually thinks that Bravo Lima Mike, then maybe they would be fixing these communities that have black on black crime. When I was growing up, right, there was a movie that I saw. And it had to be one of my favorite movies back then when I was younger. Boys in the Hood. Boys in the Hood was the movie. Okay? Now, watching that movie, the whole gangster thing, in LA, of course, I was drawn to that because I was younger and it was a different time. I was listening to a lot of rap music, especially with NWA, Ice Cube, Eazy-E. I was listening to a lot of West Coast rap, a lot of G-Funk rap. That's what I was into. And even to this day, sometimes I would throw stuff in. I can't listen to it as much as I used to when I was younger because that was my thing. That whole gang culture thing intrigued me a lot. And I did used to hang out with a lot of gangsters back when I was younger because I thought it was cool. And not to mention there was no father in my life to kind of guide me and give me some direction. There were a lot of father figures that kind of steered me away from that. But I still fell into hanging out with certain types of people, gang members, when I was younger. But let me explain something about Boys in the Hood. Because that movie, now that I look back, that movie was prolific for its time. And a lot of people thought, a lot of young people were watching that because of the gang content of it. Well, at the end of the movie, they were bringing awareness to black on black crime. And now you don't even hear that from celebrities or activists. You don't. That movie was bringing awareness to black on black crime. It was bringing awareness to the gang problem that they had in LA. And I have to say, man, the true meaning of woke would be that movie right there. Yeah, there were parts of the movie that showed problem with the police. Yes, and that, yeah, there probably is. I'm not going to pretend and say that there isn't, because it's a possibility, because everybody in every group have some kind of bad apple in them. Okay, and I'm just generalizing here because in a perfect world, nobody would have problems. But we're not in a perfect world, and we're especially now where everything is turned upside down. But at the same time, too, as a cop, as a cop going, patrolling these neighborhoods, having to deal with gangsters every day, and having this thing where they're just wearing a uniform and being in a police car gives you a target. You try living a life every day of being paranoid, of not thinking that you may or may not make it home, because you respond to a domestic call violence, which turns out to become a shooting on a cop. Because statistically speaking, as far as I know, that domestic violence calls are probably going to be the most dangerous ones, because those calls can turn against the cop in a split second. Well, and not only that, but if you're patrolling these neighborhoods that are gang infested, you don't know what kind of you don't know what's going on there. Right? Maybe they're going to be, maybe it's a setup to ambush cops. You don't know. But just kind of put yourself in the cop's shoes every day, having to patrol these neighborhoods, having to see what you see, having to deal with what you deal with. And I would imagine that it would be harder for a black cop to patrol the streets of these neighborhoods too, because now they look at you as somebody who sold out. When in actuality, you're just trying to fix a community that's broken. A lot of these celebrities and people of stature, athletes, whatever they are, It's so easy for them to say these things, but they never took the time to at least be in a patrol car for 1 week, maybe 2, and experience what these cops go through every day in these bad neighborhoods. They may have come from these bad neighborhoods, right? And here's what I don't get. If they came from these bad neighborhoods and prospered to being somebody successful and not fall into that gang life, you would think that they would support cops, or at least try to improve policing as far as working with the community, as opposed to having the community go against the cops. People who come from these neighborhoods that become successful are it is, in my opinion, okay? And of course my opinion doesn't really matter because I'm nobody. But I think they have a great responsibility for bridging the gap between community and the police. Because now that they're successful, they have the power to say these things. They have the influence. They should be the bridge on the gap to improve things in their community. But what do? They add more gas to the fire. They make the fire even more bigger. And I don't get that. I don't. And another thing too, I mean, it gets to me that when you go in these neighborhoods, right? People already think you're a certain thing about you when you wear, when I'm pretty sure that these cops, when they go patrol these neighborhoods, the community already have they've already have a judgment on you on who you are because of the uniform that you wear, right? They call you racist and all sorts of stuff, and they don't even know who you are. They don't know. It's not a fair judgment. And I don't understand why in these communities that they still hold on to stuff from the past. We have to let go of bad things from the past in order for us to go forward, because it's an anchor. It's a negative anchor that brings you down, and then it brings everybody else down. Were there bad things that happened in the community with the police? Sure, probably there was. But how are you supposed to improve as a community if you keep pulling it, being an anchor to that? A lot of these cops nowadays, they're trying to bridge that gap, but it's very difficult. And the media doesn't help. The media does not help at all. They perpetuate the hate on the cops every time by not showing a full clip of a situation, by they curve decisions on these cases against cops, because for some odd reason I don't understand why they paint they do that. I mean, I know why they do that, but I don't understand the end goal to it. Ultimately, you're destroying the community. So yeah, as far as this article goes, I know I went pretty far with that, but in a nutshell, I mean, generally speaking, what I thought about, my thoughts connected to this article, of course it did. LeBron James has the power to bridge the gap, but he chooses not to. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Has he even done anything for the community as far as having a relationship with the community and the police? Probably not. Probably not. Has he ever been on a ride along? Probably not. And to be honest too, in my opinion, right? Because a lot of the things I say are my opinion. This is just me thinking out loud. And that's what my podcast is thinking out loud to what I think truths are. Another thing about these communities is that a lot of fathers are absent. That's a big problem. Trust me, I know. When you don't have the presence of a responsible man who's supposed to give his son direction, it turns out bad. And I know that firsthand. I was one of those kids. Fortunately enough, through God's miracles, I did not end up on the other side of the line. I did not. I was heading towards that direction, but for some odd reason, it wasn't God's plan for me to be on that side. I was lucky. And a lot of that too was a lot of people who I've connected with as I was growing up. Like I mentioned earlier, I've had father figures growing up. There were people that I looked up to. And I'm very thankful for them, for keeping me out of harm's way when I should have been on the other side. But as you get older, as you have your own family, things change. Things change. And I promised to myself that I would never put my kids through what I went through as a child. And I tell you, man, there were a lot of things that I shouldn't have seen as a kid. A lot. There's a lot of things I shouldn't have done. But, what do you do when there's nobody to guide you? What do you do? What do you do when you have the possibility of losing both your parents, right? One, because he decided to bounce. And two, my mom was given only a limited time to live. And fortunately, through the miracle of God, my mom still lives to this day. Man, just the thought of having to lose my mom when I was younger, when I needed direction, right? Maybe that would have been the tipping point for me to be on the other side. Easy. It's easy to do that because, it's, you don't think. But I'm glad and I'm blessed and I pray every day for my mom. Although she wasn't present, she had the burden of having to raise two kids on her own. And I completely understand her doing what she had to do to give us shelter, food, clothing, despite the fact that she was dying at the same time. Man, you want to talk about a superhero that I admire a lot. It's my mother. She didn't give up, and God told her it wasn't her time yet. So I'm lucky. I'm very lucky and I'm very blessed. And I'm very thankful for all that. Matter of fact, I'm thankful for every experience that I've had, even if it was rough. I'm thankful for that because it's molded me to who I am now. I look at things at a very different way now. And I learn from those experiences so then my kids don't go on that path. But I know I'm veering off here. That would be an awesome discussion about how I grew up. I mean, I wouldn't say I was in a completely poor neighborhood or anything like that. I mean, it's nothing like that. But just the absence of a father is a big deal to kids. It really is. It really is a big deal. And it should be more magnified. Like we need to show why the presence of a responsible father should be at home. And those guys don't even get enough kudos for what they do. But then again, if you're a responsible father and husband, you shouldn't want the kudos because that's what you're supposed to do anyways, right? Anyways, I'm going to take a break, and then we're going to hit another article, which does not it doesn't even connect to what we just talked about. But, one day I would love to discuss the problem of absent fathers in the homes, because I was I went through that. And it's not an easy thing, because now you're tapping into how you have a relationship with a woman. As for me, having a relationship with a woman as I was growing up, it was very it was very blurry, like what I thought a relationship should be. But like I said, we'll discuss that on another day, maybe on a live show. I don't know. So for now, I'm going to take a break. So I will talk to you guys after. And welcome back. So the next article I have here is from the Gateway Pundit. It was written by Christina Layla, and it was published on May 1st of this year. Article reads, Tennessee woman paralyzed after second Pfizer Charlie Victor shot. A Nashville woman is in a hospital bed and unable to walk after receiving her second Pfizer Charlie shot on April 16th. Mind you, when it comes to this stuff, I have to talk in code because unfortunately there's a certain platform out there, Yankee Tango, that has already deleted one of my videos. So I have to talk in code when I talk about certain things. Okay. So when I'm referring to alphanetic stuff, you can probably figure out what I'm talking about. Brandy Parker McFadden said mere hours after her second dose of the Charlie vaccine, an unusual sensation began in her legs. Soon the young mother of 3 was in agony with horrible neck pain, and it kept getting worse. She was screaming in pain. She is one that is pretty stoic. That's what created the sense of urgency, her husband James told WKRN. I'm assuming that's a news outlet. I woke up. I can't move my arms. I can't move my legs. So he's freaking out. The doctors are panicking, Brandy said. I'm holding her hand, and her hand is limp throughout the whole thing while she's screaming in pain, James told WKRN. And all the test results are coming back negative. Brandy is unsure if she will ever be able to walk again. After 10 days, she is able to move her arms and wiggle her toes. WKRN reached out to Pfizer, and they issued this statement. Wow, they actually put a statement out there, huh? We take adverse events that are potentially associated with our Charlie Victor 19 vaccine, BTN 16-2 Bravo 2, very seriously. We closely monitor all such events and collect relevant information to share with global regulatory authorities. Excuse me. At this time, our ongoing review has not identified any safety signals with paralysis and the Pfizer BioNTech Charlie Victor 19 vaccine. To date, more than 200 million people around the world have been vaccinated with our vaccine. It is important to note that serious adverse events that are unrelated to the vaccine are unfortunately likely to occur at a similar rate as they would in the general population. Once again, this article was written by the Gateway Pundit, and it was written by Christina Layla. So I kind of found this interesting right here, right? Because honestly, this is a test run. They're trying to figure out what kind of adverse reactions people would get, so then they could put it in their disclaimers, right? And I'm going to be quoting the statement that they put out. We closely monitor all such events and collect relevant information to share with global regulatory authorities. Figure that one out. This is clearly a test run. They want to figure out what kind of adverse reactions that these things give, so that when they start making they start putting more information into their labels, they put that into their disclaimer. It doesn't really matter now anyway, because they can't get sued. They can't, that's just the way it is. These pharmaceutical companies are untouchable when it comes to these things, and I don't get it. I don't get people. Okay, I don't get these people. I call them the sheep. I call them the sheep because they refuse to do research on their own about what they're getting themselves into, or what's going around the world. I don't get the mentality of this thing. This Charlie Victor thing has a 99%, even more, I think, depending on what age range you're in. You have a 99% chance of living, as opposed to the jab, which is probably going to lessen. Like, you're more than likely to face either getting sick or death or something. In my this is just my opinion. There's no statistics on this. It's like a 50-50 thing. You're gambling. You're rolling the dice on something that's unknown, when clearly you have more than a 99% chance of living, getting the Charlie Victor. I don't get it. You know, when I was a kid, and I probably talked about this before, when there was a kid that I knew who had chicken pox, man, it was game on. Just go play with him, go get the chicken pox, and you'll be done with it. But now we've become a society that's so neat freakish, and when you over clean things, like, how do you build your immune system up? That's why it's called an immune system, right? We build it up to make it stronger. It's like working out. When you're working out, in the beginning, everything is gonna hurt, right? You're strengthening your muscles. You're strengthening your bones as well. And as time goes by, it gets stronger and stronger. And now we're relying on things that are not even 100% going to protect us. And even if you're still going to get sick. Either way, you're getting sick. But I think I would roll my chances with a 99% live rate, as opposed to something I don't even know anything about. I don't get the sheep mentality on that. I don't. From the get-go with this whole Charlie Victor thing, when they started implementing the moment they started implementing masks, I knew that this was it. I knew this was all about control. It has nothing to do with safety. That's what they did in 9/11. That's how they hoodwinked a lot of us in 9/11 with the Patriot Act. And now when we go to the airports, and I know a thing about this because I travel every week. Lucky for me, I'm TSA pre-checked, which means I don't have to do certain things that the mass sheep have to do. Like you go through this body scanner, and for some odd reason, things still get through. Not to mention the fact you got to take your shoes off. Why? Because some dude tried to sneak up a bomb in there, or I don't get it. Things are still going through. I really don't get it. That's how they get us. That's how they get you. They scare you with these, we have to protect you. So you're going to have to lose some rights for that. I don't get it. I don't. And I hate the thought of having to lose rights because you're afraid to live life. I mean, who is the government to tell me what's good for me? Who are they to control me? I decide what's good for me and what's good for my family. Let me make that decision. I don't want you to decide for me. But then again, that's how liberals think. They want to control every aspect of your life. Why? Why is it your business? Why is it your business to care about what I do for my life? Because I disagree with you? I know this discussion is veering off into something else different, because we're supposed to be talking about the jab, and we're supposed to be talking about Charlie Victor. But honestly, I want to say that I feel bad for these people who decide to get the jab. I sincerely want to feel bad for them when something happens, but here's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is, if you're deciding to do something for yourself, it is your responsibility to do all the research you can in order for you to make a logical decision, as opposed to just making fear, making that decision for you. That's what they do. They instill fear in us in order for us to accept certain things. They instill fear because it's the easiest thing to do. And honestly, in my opinion, a part of that is not having a relationship with God. Because that's not what God intended us to be. Our life is not intended to be living in fear. Because if we lived in fear, you'll be stuck in your house. You won't be able to go out and make great relationships with people, have great discussions with people, advance your own mind. And that's what they do. And they have this because it is a scientific experiment. They have this scientific experiment to the T. They do it with media. They do it with entertainment. They do it with propaganda. And the sad thing about it is, these people who are in positions of authoritative positions, as far as like agencies like the Charlie Delta Charlie and the Whiskey Hotel Oscars, right? Because they're part of a health organization. Instead of us doing our research, we put all our trust into them. How about this? How about you put all your trust into God and take responsibility for doing research into what you're putting into your body, right? I'm going to admit to myself that, hey, I know that junk food is and I'm going to say this because I love ice cream. I know eating ice cream all the time is not good. I probably eat it more than I should. But that's a decision I make for myself. At least I have that in my head, that I know that too much of this is probably not good. That goes with drinks as well. Cocktails, right? The bartender, the speak uneasy. Which is why I drink to moderation. I don't overdo it. I know. But as far as ice cream goes, shoot, man. You got me. Like, any opportunity I can eat ice cream, I'm going to eat ice cream. My wife tells me to slow down at times, but that's a hard thing for me. It's a hard thing for me to do, and I understand addiction. I really do. I got a sweet tooth. I'm not getting any younger, so I honestly got to slow that down. But at least I recognize that it's not good. So at least I know, as opposed to people that out there where all the information is out there and they just refuse to do a little bit of research. Just a little bit. All you need is a little bit. Because it's a little bit is all it takes for you to start going down that rabbit hole. That's what happened to me in my awakening back in 2006. So during, and I don't know if I'm on track with this conversation from this article, but it has everything to do with doing your own research, right? Because ultimately, when it comes to this article, this lady should have done her research before she got that jab. She should have. Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't dig deep enough to understand that getting Charlie Victor is not going to be the end all be all of your life. Like, you're not going to die. If you're in the category of our age range that's, quote, healthy, you're not going to die. But now you're increasing your chances of death with this thing that's foreign to your body. And quite honest, it alters your DNA, right? But anyways, now I lost my train of thought because of all these discussions right here. Oh, okay. Referring back to 9/11. And I'm talking about the World Trade Centers. So back in 2001, when I saw that happening on the news, I thought to myself, oh my goodness, we're being attacked and all this stuff. And I admit, I was one of the sheep. I didn't care about what was really going on. I didn't follow anything. I didn't care. I really did not care about I cared about the country being attacked, of course. Who didn't care about that? Everybody cared. Everybody stood in unity. Everybody was in unity. We all agreed that we had an enemy, and we all stuck together as Americans. And time went on. I went on with my life, just as everybody has. But at the same time, we never forgot what happened in 2011. In 2001, September 11th. We never forgot that. Every year that September 11th came, we all remembered. But it wasn't until 2006 that a coworker of mine, back in one of my old jobs, told me, "Hey, dude, you got to check this film out." And he told me, "Yeah, you got to check out this movie called Loose Change." I said, what is this Loose Change? What is this? He goes, "Just check it out, dude. Just check it out." And man, when I saw that film, I was all in the rabbit's hole. Like, I went and dug and went through different tunnels of the rabbit's hole. But that was because I started caring, and part of that too. Part of me starting to delve into that was my mindset was changing at the same time, because I realized too, even before watching that film, that I started getting into politics, because there were so many, and at the time I was living in California, so there were so many decisions that was going on that affected me, because I was making not much money, and I had a family I had to support, and a lot of these things started affecting me. So I started getting into it, and part of that was the people that I worked with were a lot older than I was, except that one guy who introduced me to that movie. He Loose Change. He was younger than me. He knew a lot more than I did. But I surrounded myself around people who were older and who were conservative for most part. There was one liberal guy, but we never really chopped it up as far as politics goes. And everybody used to just tease him. and that was probably one of the best jobs I had, as not of the pay, but because as an individual I grew. And I had so much fun. It was laughter every day that I went to work. I was always looking forward to the next day, because we'd always joke around, and it was just a loose environment. But doing the research, man, it's a big deal. That's where I was getting to. Like, doing the research is a big deal. Sometimes you got to go deep, dig deep, in order for you to make logical decisions in what you decide what you're going to do for yourself and your family. Sometimes it takes work, and you just got to do it. You have to, because ultimately all these things are going to affect it's going to affect you. So, interesting conversation, yeah. Interesting how people they're just lazy. They're just lazy. They don't care. Which is appalling to me, because a lot of these people that don't care about politics, they care more about sports. And honestly, in my opinion, I stopped being a sports fan after high school. And I think that sports is a means of distraction away from, finding out what truth is. I mean, you get people you ask people. I'm sorry, this is stuttering. You ask people about what's in this bill. How does this affect you? They don't know. But you ask like a player's statistics in whatever sports they're into, they'll give you the full statistics, which baffles me. Why do you care so much about that stuff? Oh, I caught myself, didn't I? Anyways, so that's that for today's discussion. I hope you were able to learn something from me. I kind of learned something about myself as I was speaking. And this is what I like to do. I like having discussions about advancement of us as a human race, because honestly, I'd really love to get to that next level, and I know it's limitless. But these people in power, these people who so-called run the world, have put boundaries, and they have set rules where they're the ones who are winning. But now I see that a lot of us in this movement, because it is a movement, right, to take our country back as patriots, a lot of us are beginning to unlearn that and see that that it's limitless. Sky is definitely the limit. It is just us that are holding ourselves back. And it is us who are believing these people who are so-called in power of, running the world. Look, in my opinion, God is the ultimate. Like, these people can do whatever they want as far as running the world, but honestly, at the end, we all know this as patriots. At the end, God will win. God always wins, and he will continue to win. So, great discussion. Anyways, as I exit out of the bar, and as I close the bar down, with that being said,
the bar is now closed.
I can't help but wonder if I'm under a spell, it's more than a passing notion. I've never fallen with such devotion. I can't help but wonder if it's only a dream. Am I naive or can I believe that things are really as they seem? Can anyone explain it? How to understand what's true? I know I just can't tame it. Whenever I'm with you, I can't help but wonder if you wonder about me. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might be. Can anyone explain it? How to understand what's true? I know I just can't take it. Whenever I'm with you, but wonder if you wonder about me. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might be. 'Cause lately I can't help but wonder how wonderful this might